Good evening, everybody. Post-fight pod here for Amir Khan getting defeated by Kell. Brook. Andy's on the call. Matty's here, rapping Rob Kelly. People enjoying themselves in the chat. Big fight, bringing out the big names. We'll go through the chat very shortly. Andy, we'll get stuck straight in with you. Knockout was waiting to happen. Amir, he looked shot, man. He just looked like a shell of himself. I was expecting a decent firefight, not necessarily Hagler Hearns or anything like that. Bean was getting excited, a cacophony of noise. Everyone was having a great time there tonight. I just wanted a bit more. I wanted it to be a bit more of an even contest. It was too one-sided for my liking.
Yeah, it was very one-sided, actually. Everything that Brook landed flush, it was hurting Khan, big style, rocking him. Fair play to Khan, man. He hung his balls out there as per usual. I really did feel sorry that probably halfway through that first round, Khan had to find something early to hurt Brook because, as I say, he just couldn't take the shots. And as I say, fair play, he kept stepping into shots and that. He was, every time he threw a shot, he was dropping his hands, getting caught with the hook. It's look, that's what it is. It's just, it was, people were happy to see it. I kind of felt that Khan might have started a bit quicker, a bit more dominant, possibly on the jab, quick hands, but he had none of that. Feet were short, speed's not there. As I said, I thought when he got hurt, I don't know why he just didn't get on the jab, triple the jab up and just fucking move. Brook just walked him down, and wee bit erratic as well. He's falling short with his own punches, a wee bit time for time, Brook, and that, but he could afford to do it because, as I say, when he did land, he was just fucking rocking Khan right down to his foundations and that. So I'm not too pissed off about the stoppage. I see some comments about people not being happy and that could have been going on and that, but look, it was only going to go one way. I mean, you want to see a guy go out in a stretcher. You want to see him badly knocked out. He's got to see the fight, and they all predicted it. Well, I did anyway. That Brook would win by mid-range stoppage and that. Matty picked Khan by points, I'm sure.
No, I didn't, you son of a bitch.
But yeah, look, fair play to Brook. He stepped in, he won the fight. You know, Khan's done his bit. He's tried to play the mind games and all that type of thing. It's done nothing at the end of the day. Both are shot. Crawford's got to be embarrassed. You know, that's probably Crawford's biggest ring walk, and he gets embarrassed like that actually on the back end of it as well. So, yeah, fair play to Brook, as I says, and fair play to Domingo, you dirty, clatty bastard.
Yeah, Albert Ross says Amir jelly-legged from round one. Matty, you're disputing Andy's prediction about your prediction there. I said inside 6 rounds, so I'm taking a W for this, even though I said Amir inside 6 rounds. Just small particular details, Matty. We're not going to stick on the particulars here. What actually did you predict last week?
I believed I predicted Brook by stoppage.
Well done to you. Go on then. What transpired?
I don't know
why. On it.
I'll do. Want me to tell you how I got fucked? So I saw a really interesting one, and it was just stupid bet, and I'm like, yeah, I'll put fucking $10 on it, whatever. And it was Amir Khan to get knocked down in any of rounds 2, 4, 6, 8, or 10. So to get a TKO 6 with him on his feet was a real kick in the dick for this guy.
Ryder last week, Amir this week. You getting battered, Matty?
I am getting battered. I did put some money on Linares losing today, so we got that. But I'll tell you what here for the people like you, Steve, who predicted Amir Khan on points. Well, I don't know why you guys keep treating this guy like a welterweight. What success has he had at welterweight? When has he proved that he could take a punch at welterweight? What I said this was about was going to be a battle if Khan's everlasting speed was going to be better than what timing Brook had left with his time out of the ring, and Brook still has exceptional timing. I think this might give him a false sense of confidence, and he'll go into a bigger fight and get his ass kicked. But the story of this fight was always going to be Khan is going to get stopped. It'll be entertaining while it lasts because Khan fights are always entertaining. But Brook still has good timing. He has that right hand. The counter jab was working, and yeah, we'll see what Special K runs into next.
Well, what do you think? Just before we bring Rob in, what do you think he's going to run into next?
What welterweights are hooked up with Shalom? You know, I guess that's the question. Is he really tied in with that? Can he?
Nah, I'd say he
work outside.
Free agent, dude. I'd say Shalom.
Yeah,
just
go
put
where
the
he
bread
wants.
up, like.
Yeah, I could see him being in a PBC fight. potentially. Against one of those guys, because most of the routes to the title go against that one. Maybe he'll even go back with Eddie against Conor Benn. That's actually an interesting enough fight in my opinion. I actually would take Ben by stoppage in that one, but it's a good fight.
Yeah, I just seen something on Twitter that Khan's got a rematch clause for this fight. Is that right?
Are you fist fucking me?
No, I just seen it. There's Jim Carrius says I still have no desire to see Brook fight anyone in the top 10. He's past his best. Khan has a rematch clause, so we could see this fight again. But for Khan's sake, I hope he hangs up his gloves. So I agree with the last part of that. Obviously, I've been saying that for long enough. Actually, even before this fight happened.
No, you have to be fair. No, even though there's a rematch clause, I can't see it. Des saying there, Khan's legs just went heavy and he can't hold a shot. I had Brook by stoppage, but I'm sad. I boxed with Amir when he was 12, and I've always had a soft spot for him. Best wishes, mate, says Des. Best wishes to you as well. Rapping Rob Kelly.
Look nervous as fuck?
He did, but maybe he knew. Maybe he knew, Rob. That's why he looked so nervous. He was coming out knowing things that we didn't about his condition, about what he was about to bring to the party or not about to bring to the party.
Well, look, treatment done at his back in that as well. So,
it was all a bit, It was weird, dude, wasn't it? It was like, Andy's just alluded to it, and I was just going to get to that. Like we've been saying on the pod, as fans of the sport, and generally, like I'm not a fucking super fan of either guy, but I like both guys. Like I've enjoyed their careers. Probably Khan's more so, and Brooks, when you look back at it, mismanagement, but that's another fucking, or mishandling, that's another story, even Ed, to go down another night. But we've been calling for Amir's retirement because he's been showing fucking visible signs of deterioration in just his speech and just the way he carries himself. So how was that going to translate into the ring? I didn't get a chance to call the fight last week because I got on late. I couldn't split them. I didn't really know what the fight was going to look like. But after the first round, as you know, I stuck in the Boxing Nutters messenger group. This is the worst I've ever seen Amir look. Like his feet were more alarming. The fact that his feet were shot were more alarming to me than anything. His feet looked like chewing gum. He had no kind of lateral movement, and there was no jab. And the flurries were they seemed like he was just throwing them for the sake of it to try and stay in the fight. It was like he was almost selling wolf tickets. And I thought on the way to the ring, look, you can be fucking body language expert retrospectively, but on the way to the ring, even he looked completely out of it. Whereas Brook didn't. And Brook never looked in trouble in the fight. I mean, I thought I had it 1 round each after 2 rounds, but that was probably being generous to Amir. I think probably lost all 6 rounds, took a drubbing, was getting beaten up from fucking from the 5th and 6th round. And I think it's a fair stoppage by Lachlan, to be honest with you. You don't want to see Khan go out like that. I would have had no problem with Khan calling his retirement after the Crawford fight, or Brook calling his retirement after the Crawford fight. In a way, kind of happy for Brook. He chased the fight for long enough. Amir's had his big nights. He's had his Olympic glory. He's had his kind of young man winning the world title. He's won world titles at 2 weights. He's fought out in the States a lot more. He's made a lot more money in the sport. But I always felt like early days, and I've been saying it on the pod for years, I always felt like Amir, not that he was afraid of Kell Brook, but I think he knew that Brook had his number and he hated the thought of losing to him. He'd rather lose to a Canelo or whoever else he could make a fight with than Kell Brook. So from that respect, I'm happy for Kell Brook. I thought he looked good tonight, but looking good against this version of Amir is what, like, he didn't do anything particularly special in the fight. It was a lot of 1-2 straight punches and left hooks, so he didn't look like a world beater or anything. But yeah, I hope we don't see the rematch. It was a good event, a nice way for the two of them to end their career, grudge match and settle it, shake hands, and fucking, we don't have to see it again. But credit to Brook, and credit to Amir as well on a great career, and I hope that's for his own health and all that. I hope that's the last we see of him.
Well said, Rob Kelly. Forget about Storm Eunice, the Texas Tornadoes flying in here. Gabe, it's good to have you on the call. I'm going to agree with rapping Rob Kelly, actually, Gabe, something he said there. Khan looked wild, disorganised, even for him, at his peak, at his wildest. He seemed like he was throwing to stay in the fight, just trying desperately to land something big, Gabe, to try and turn it around, rather than having any great confidence or belief, I think, that he was actually going to get back into the fight.
Absolutely. I agree with Rob on one thing there, too. Khan's always known this was going to happen to him. He's known for years. That's why I avoided the fight for so goddamn long. It's the greatest thing ever because I wanted to watch this fight so long ago. So many years I wanted to watch this fight. We finally got it. And I'll be honest with you. I know it's not the meaningful fight that it would have been much longer ago if it would have happened a while back. But in some way, for Kell Brook fans, for the fans of the guy and they said that, I think he's better. I think he's better than Amir Khan. I think he can beat him. It is a little bit of retribution in that regard. I don't think the fight goes the way it did, if it would have happened whenever it was at its peak potential, whenever they were both doing the best that they could at the time. I think it would have been a lot more competitive fight. Khan was faster then. I mean, you could see that now, even in his past couple of fights, he hasn't been as fast as he was at his absolute best. But I think it all goes back to, his time with Freddie Roach. I mean, Freddie Roach, the way that he trained him, I thought was the best style for him. You could say whatever you want to, but I don't think his time with Virgil Hunter was the best time. I mean, he tried to make him into a boxer, and that's not what he ever has been. He doesn't have a brain to box, and that's not a knock on him. He's always been physically good enough to get by without being a really good boxer. Kell Brook's always been a better boxer. He where he lacks, the speed or some of those intangibles, he's always been made up for it with his boxing abilities. So I love to see it. And I just wanted to come rub it into some of you guys' faces, because some of you guys who were with us on the forum recall, all the times back long ago, whenever people were touting Amir Khan to win a fight like this or what have you. So I just kind of had to be a bitter fucking asshole and come spoil some people's day.
I need to check on Donnie. I didn't even think about texting him. I hope he's okay. I mean, he's got a family to worry about.
Donnie may be an award somewhere.
No shit. He was adamant he was going to come on after this fight, but I think that was when he assumed that Khan was going to win.
He's gone into hiding. He doesn't want to take his lashing like a man. I think all of us here have taken it. We've all had a bad call.
Last week he said he was coming on.
Well, I can't wait till he does. I'm going to stick it to him.
Someone was asking after him during the week, actually. I think it was Sam saying, "Where's Donnie?" So hopefully he'll come out of hibernation, chasing those ambulances.
We've literally been, discussing this fight for a decade or better. It's really interesting. It makes you feel kind of old. It's like a nostalgia moment. It's like, Mayweather Pacquiao, but not even like the dollar store version. It's like what you find at a yard sale on a table for a quarter. But you're like, oh shit, I remember that game from my childhood, and it was what it was. But yeah, I honestly, I'm kind of with Gabe on that. I think that really any version of Brook beats any version of Khan. I don't think Khan was ever meant to be a welterweight. I think 140 was his max.
Matty, just before we move on and bring Dominic in, who's joined us on the call, one of the guys mentioned Bomac there in the corner. Obviously, he's a good trainer, clearly done good work with Terence Crawford, but I think there's a concerning rise in heavy cornermen now. Is Bomac too fat to be competitive? I mean, do we need to see this?
I don't know about that one. As far as a strategist, you don't have to be mobile to be a good strategist. We've definitely seen lots of obese coaches of many sports throughout the years. But I think Bomac is just a bad choice of trainer for Khan, Steve. And it's because he does teach fighters how to dig, and that gym that he runs is a little bit of a dog gym. And Khan is so fragile. He needs to fight like a fragile fighter should. He should always be moving around. He should always be on the back foot. He should be like a bouncier version of Vladimir Klitschko, jab, and if they get inside of that touch, take that half step in and grab. It'd be boring as hell, but based on what he is, that's how he could be successful, more successful than he was, because he made a lot out of what he had. But, it was always a matter of time before he was going to get knocked out again.
Did Khan even target Brook's body once?
No, I've got that on my notes, Andy.
Did you? Yeah, I never seen him go there once either, actually.
No, it's a good point. Right, Dominic. Anybody who's WhatsApping me, by the way, I just had to turn it off, man. It's going wild. I can't keep up here, Dominic. I can't keep up with the pace. You're disagreeing with Gabe, having a bit of on-pod beef. What's your beef with Gabe, Dominic?
No, I've no beef with Gabe. I'm just pinching myself that I'm actually on the call with Texas's finest.
It's fucking raw beef, man. Raw beef. Capitals as well.
That's castrated beef.
Why?
No, I'm just actually picking up what what Matty was saying. I think Matty hit the nail on the head about Bomac being just a bad choice of trainer. I mean, I don't know if any of you saw the tweet Alex Arthur put out on Wednesday or Thursday. I thought it hit the nail on the head. He said he was talking about Khan. He said he hired Freddie Roach because he wanted to be like Pacquiao. He hired Virgil because he wanted to be like Andre Ward. And now he's hired Bomac because he wants to be like Crawford. And then he said Kell Brook trains with Dominic Ingle because he wants to be Kell Brook. I thought, although that's over-egging it a bit.
But you going to say Flex Wheeler then?
I think it gets at something, I think it's sort of, I've always thought Amir's willingness to sort of, or his reluctance to settle down for one trainer with any length of time has really harmed I think he could have been a bit better than. I think he sort of restricted his own potential a bit. And the reason I'm saying that is what I've said in the chat there. I remember being so impressed with the two back-to-back performances against Louis Collazo and Devin Alexander. I thought I just thought he looked so impressive, those two. And I thought that was the only time I've ever thought he might beat Brook watching those two performances. But it just makes you think, this fight is more out of date when it actually happened than Mayweather Pacquiao was. I mean, it should have happened in 2014, but of course, it's not. People say it was Khan's fault, but I mean, Kell went and got himself, after he won the world title against Porter. We know what happened next. He went to Tenerife and got himself.
Who knows what happens? Do you know what happens next, Dominic? Who knows what happened next?
You can't leave that to the imagine. But, it's he never had that sort of. It was really just a stupid thing to do. It was unprofessional. I'm not saying he would have got the Khan fight then, but that was the time it should have happened. When they were both. Brook had just beaten Porter, and Khan, I thought, looked sensational in those two fights. I know they weren't. I know Louis Collazo and Devin Alexander aren't. They're not maybe the same level as Brook, but they were good fighters. And going into those fights, I remember especially going into the Collazo fight, I remember a number of people thought Collazo could give Khan trouble. But I was just impressed because under Hunter, for the first time, I thought he's actually disciplined. He's managed to discipline Khan into not, taking chances with his chin. When he gets hit, he's sort of imposed some discipline on him not to trade when he gets hit. And he wasn't getting into those difficult spots that he got into early in his career. But I just thought, it was a good stoppage by Victor Loughnane. I thought, because I thought Brook didn't have. I think it could have gone on for a number of rounds like that because Kell's timing probably wasn't just what it was a few years ago, and therefore there was the potential that the fight was just going to drag on for a few rounds with Khan taking too many. So looking forward to what happens next. As I said to you earlier, Steve, there's word going around that the winner of tonight's fight would be lined up to fight Eubank next, and sure enough, Eubank did an interview tonight. I don't know if anyone saw it, and he was sort of saying, Eubank said personally he wanted Khan to win, but business-wise he wanted Brook to win, because he said me and Kell have unfinished business, so I wouldn't be surprised. Sky will put that in pay-per-view, so well, there's no doubt about it. And that would be a fight. I think it would do okay numbers, but
they say obviously that Ben moving up to Eubank is unrealistic because he's a lot smaller. But Kell has always struggled at that kind of weight, hasn't he? And the fact he's gone up to fight Golovkin before would make it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, I could see the fight being made at a catch weight. Maybe it could be made at middleweight, or it could be made for a vacant. It could be made for some sort of. They could engineer it for some.
160. Surely Eubank can make 160.
Don't give him any fucking ideas about a vacant title. Don't be putting that shit out there.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying what other people will. It could be made. Look, it's a big enough fight. For the casual market to be put on pay-per-view in the UK, whether we like it or not. In terms of, I remember the conversation the guys had a few months ago when the fight was made, whether the winner of this fight tonight could potentially face Conor Benn. And
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about it last week and I thought, actually, because Kell, this fight was at 149, it wasn't at 147. I don't think Brook could really. I still think Brook would beat Ben even now. I have to say, there's not enough evidence for me that Ben is this body of work is absolutely scant as far as I'm concerned. If you're running from Avenetian, I don't think he should be taken as any sort of a favourite to beat Brook. I think Brook. But I think it's more likely if two opponents, Conor Benn or Eubank Jr., I think it's more likely Brook will face Eubank next. If those are the two options.
We've had Sammy Vargas, Chris Algieri, throwing Robert Guerrero, Kell Brook. Why not? Let's party like it's 2013. Rob, Mohammed Malik says, props to Kell, kept his composure and got the job done. This is the thing, Brook, he was compact and composed like a man on a mission. He seemed like really focused in there. Everything he threw seemed to be landing and hurting Khan. As we said, he was a bit more disorganised and wild.
I thought it was a bit wild at the start, to be honest with you. I slightly disagree with that.
No, I think both things are true. I think he was a little bit wild after the first round, and then after the second round, you saw Ingle say to him, "Listen, he's thrown because it's shit or bust. You've heard him. Just take your time. You're going to get to him." Like, and that was evident, wasn't it? Like after 3 rounds, he was just beating him up. He did everything right. Yeah, he did. He performed perfectly in the fight. He didn't lose. He probably lost 1 round slightly. And dominated the rest of the fight. It was a one-sided fight, and it was a beating. I thought, as I said, I had no complaints with the stoppage. So I think probably Eubank was there for a reason. I think if you're a boxer, Ben Shalom is a young, good-looking promoter, isn't he? By the way, youth is on his side, isn't it? And he hasn't got like a
Eddie Hearn love child, that one.
4 billion a dead or nothing. He's like a new and improved Eddie, isn't he? He doesn't talk as much. He's a nicer guy and everything. Much better as the faceless guy for me, anyway. Evening, Ed. But he doesn't have a 4 billion deficit.
Right, have you seen that full stadium or full arena?
Yeah, he wouldn't have liked that, would he?
Could have been me.
Sweet Caroline, they were playing. He fucking cracked up there, just kicked the TV over. No, but
kicked his cat like Zuma style.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, fuck's sake. I think Boxer will push for that Eubank, which is a terrible move for Eubank if you're at this stage of his career, by the way. Like, I couldn't say any more blatant cash fucking grab, but it is a big domestic fight. The same people who loaded into the stadium tonight to see that fight will turn out in their droves again to see Kell Brook versus Chris Eubank Jr. So,
Rob, it's exactly what Eubank's all about. It fits perfectly into what his whole career is about. He's not really about challenging himself. Yeah. I mean, he never wanted to fight the likes of Golovkin, the likes of, even the likes of someone like Andrade or people like that. It's just like the old man. The old man never fought the likes of, Tony or Mike, these sort of guys. I'm not saying he was a great fighter and he was brave, but there was real big challenges that he for one reason or another, he managed to avoid. I don't think Eubank Jr., I think he said it himself tonight in the interview, he was basically calling it on, saying that's what he wanted.
If he's anything like his old man, he'll make ballsier moves near the end of his career than near the middle or the beginning.
He might move up and face Lawrence Okoli twice.
there you go, man.
He's at he's at the end of his career. He's 33 years of age or something. This is the end of his career.
Is he that fucking old now? Jesus fucking Christ. Man, I'm not looking, my birthday is a week from tomorrow, and yeah, I'm just not looking forward to the years passing by, guys. We're looking back on these things, and it seems like yesterday, and we're like, that was over a fucking decade ago? Well, fuck. It's crazy times, but
Matty, it's 10 to 12 here, man. We don't need any more depression. Thanks very much.
Yeah. We're all old. But I was thinking, who Khan should have went 2 years ago? Yeah, fucking
Adam Booth.
Language barrier notwithstanding, I think Ismail Salas. I think Khan should have accepted that he had an amateur style and ran with it.
Well, he might
Marty, do you not think Marty was under Hunter? What do you think of what I was saying, Marty, under those? Can you remember those 2 fights against Colazzo and against Devin Alexander? I thought Khan was...
Yeah, I think that was a great example, and I think that as Salas would have gotten something very close to that out of him too. Is those performances, they were responsible, and at times his offense was dynamic, right? And I don't know why he got away from that. That was a good pairing.
Yeah, but look at his record with Steve. Cuban trainers, though, when he went to Jorge Rubio.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember Frank Warren saying, "Who let Jorge Rubio pick Moreira's Prescott as the opponent?"
He might as well have gone to fucking Ismail because he's gone with everyone except the fucking leader of the Boy Scouts at this stage. Like he's had fucking every trainer possible. Only Manny Stewart has fucking passed away. He would have been, I'm sure, fucking recruited at some stage. Like it's fucking. You know, the Bomac one was a strange choice for me, to be honest with you. Now that you mention it, I did. And what does that say about Bomac as a trainer? What was the game plan for Khan tonight? Because whatever it was, he couldn't fucking pull it off. He didn't execute anything. Like, and he didn't look like he had a game plan. He didn't fight like a guy that had a game plan. So interesting, kind of take. And Bomac probably doesn't give a fuck, man. As long as Crawford's fucking around, he has the number one guy or one of the number one guys in the sport. But I'd like to see what he does with another fighter.
We're going to England.
I remember there was an interview you were talking about why the pairing with Virgil Hunter didn't persist, didn't endure, and I just remember looking at an interview when the relationship sort of broke down. It didn't break down with animosity, but Virgil Hunter was just saying he was trying to get Khan to sort of spend more time in the Bay Area. And permanently sort of base himself out there, that he sort of felt lifestyle-wise, Amir was sort of going for training camps, and then, he would go back to England or Dubai or wherever he was going, and Hunter wanted him...
Trained for, like, what, was it 12 weeks for his fight or something?
Who, Andy?
Khan.
This fight tonight?
Aye.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long he was training for it, but I mean, in terms of what he was like tonight, his offense was all over the place. It was just sad to see how. I mean, we've always known about his vulnerability, his fragility, but his attack was just. I mean, I've always thought. Have you not thought throughout his career that one of his big problems was that his hands were too fast for his feet?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
a good
he windmill, didn't he?
There was no coordination. I think his hands were almost too fast. It was like.
His hands windmilled him forward, and he sort of would have fallen into opponents and stuff, often getting clocked.
Yeah, I just thought,
he always left that chin hanging, though. He always did leave that chin hanging.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing that for years. I was at a wedding years ago, and I met this Dublin guy, and he was a massive Amir Khan fan. He was like, "Oh, you like the boxing? What do you think about Amir?" And I was like, being honest as always, I was like, "Well, he's a great fighter, like, but he's going to get knocked out because he keeps coming forward in straight legs and he hangs his chin up. So in one of the next 3 fights, whatever way he goes, he's going to get knocked out." And I think this was before the Lamont Peterson fight. Your man was not having it. Like 3 fights later, Danny Garcia was after stopping him. It was just, he hasn't, no matter who he's gone with and who has been the trainer that's, he said Freddie didn't really teach defense, so he went to Virgil, but whoever he's been with, and even before that, I can't think of the guy's name who he was with before he sacked off and went to Freddie Roach. Who was that?
Oliver Harrison.
Oliver Harrison,
sacked him off for Rubio, didn't he?
Sacked him.
Who was he went with the was it the Cuban for the Prescott fight?
Yeah, that was Jorge Rubio,
yeah.
So has it always been a case that his ego has made the decisions for him? So it's not me, like I'm not doing anything wrong. It's the coach. I'm fucking, you know what I mean? I'm Amir Khan, my blister has been, I'm the Olympian, I'm the superstar. So it's not me. It must be the trainer, that way. So it's like he's got comfortable with the team around him or whatever, got comfortable with allowing him to make decisions just to sack off the trainer and go, rather than actually, like he had, what has he improved over with those changes in trainers? Not much, like. I'm not taking anything away from him. Obviously, he is what he is what he is, and he was a super fighter and always exciting, as I said, always value for money and always fucking show balls and all that. But what did he really improve? Like,
he's just less than the sum of his parts. I mean, that's what I think.
Actually, do you know what? I thought in the Canelo fight, he fought absolutely amazing in the Canelo fight. Boxing, he did. He really did. Like, apart from that mistake,
he just fought a huge guy. I mean, that Canelo was huge compared to him.
Even if you remember back to I always think the worst knockout that he suffered was the Donnie Garcia knockout, because he should never have been losing to someone like Donnie Garcia. And if you remember that fight, the first 2 rounds, he looked great.
He threw an right uppercut from mid-distance and got countered, left himself, as I say, chin hanging, got fucking wide open for it.
Hook to the neck.
It was exactly right, Matty. The hook caught him worse than being caught. It caught him right on the flipping.
Yeah, but all the connecting. He led with a right uppercut from mid-distance.
Yeah. I remember watching one of those Ring magazine sort of demonstrations with B-Hop, and he was saying, rule number 1 when you're throwing the uppercut, always be, don't throw it from, out from a distance. Make sure you're basically on top of your opponent. just like a technical point. But one thing I'll always say is, we're talking here about the sort of mismanagement or Amir not really fulfilling his, or no, sort of being undone by his fragilities and so forth. But I've always preferred Brook as a fighter. I've always preferred his just the way he goes about his business inside the ring. But I can't let this being on here go without also drawing attention to the fact that his career has been managed. Rob referenced it earlier, and I was thinking about it over the last few days, Steve, just as the fight was drawing closer. I was thinking, who is ultimately to blame? And you hear a lot of stuff behind the scenes about what his old man, Terry, apparently he's a difficult piece of work. But if you think back after when Brook won the title against Porter, all those fights against the likes of the PBC guys, Thurman, they were all there to be made. If you're brave enough to go over to America, okay, the likes of Thurman weren't going to come over to Britain. But if you look at the bad relationship with the PC people, it wasn't conducive to setting up fights like that for Brook. You remember Frampton went over, fought Leo Santa Cruz the first fight. It was a PBC. If you believe you're good enough, and I think Brook at that time would have been good enough to go over and beat a Thurman, beat the Donnie Garcia. But I think what basically happened was Eddie basically burned his bridges with other promoters, especially the PBC, and there was no way.
Heyman,
yeah, I mean, I think Brook was good enough to go over to America on an American card and at his peak at that time, but he wanted the real. It's hard to know ultimately who was to blame, who behind the scenes was. Brook, I think, wanted those big, massive UK pay-per-view nights, and they were willing to go in with Golovkin and all that entailed. But I think Brook's an awful waste of potential, personally.
No, I agree. We'll blame Eddie just to be on the safe side. Andy, just before I forget this point, we're going to make it to you quickly now. We mentioned it earlier. One thing we can agree on when it comes to strategy is that Khan was getting rocked about like a shell and he neglected Brook's body completely, which was strange. He just couldn't get there.
Yeah, possibly part of it as well, mate. Maybe it's a bit of desperation. He got tagged very early in the fight, and then it's come down to the fact is like he was chasing it after. I said to you guys in the WhatsApp that he needs to hurt him soon. Got on that jab. He drops the hands. He gets caught with the hooks, and look, as I say about Brook and that. This is why I was kind of like disagreeing with one of the listeners. When he was trying to kind of like press it a wee bit, even he was trying to finish Can off, he was missing a wild shots, even uppercuts, and that Can was somehow dodging them for fucking dear life. But as you say, mate, he never tagged the body, never jabbed at the body as well, never threw any hooks as well. And it says if you're going to fucking fight, or if you're facing a guy who's going to like walk you down like that, you got to target the body. You really got to, because a man don't live by his head; he lives by these organs. You got to fucking savage him, and he just didn't have it. And part of me is disappointed because I didn't expect Khan to start quick on the jab, quick on his feet. But he's not got the pace anymore. He's not got the legs. He's not got the fucking. He's not got the foot movement anymore. I think if that had been like the Khan or the Kotelnik fight, for example, I know it's different weights. It might have been a far different fight, to be honest with you. But as we said, it's just two guys trading on the name value at this point. But moving forward, I like to see Brook fight Eubank, for example, because that is the kind of like route that Eubank's on at this point, isn't it? He fights fairy vets, fairy names, and that's his career, a mirage.
David Coleman's thrown in a 449 super chat, kicking things off tonight. We usually go for about an hour or so. What we on now? 33, 34? Yeah, we go for another 25 minutes or so. Thanks for the content, lads. Anyway, says David Coleman. Always thought Brook had the beating of Khan. Happy he got the monkey off his back tonight. Steady on, David. And put those demons to bed. Gabe, Khan was buying every feint that Brook threw. There was one point in the third round, I think it was. Brook shimmied forward and Khan's head shot up like a spring. With the shimmies and the holding on. He was holding on for dear life at times. I don't know. The reflexes just weren't there, Gabe.
He was twitching like fuck.
No, I mean, for you guys, I've known you guys for a long time. Maddie and Andy, probably the longest. And I've never been a Khan fan. I've always reveled in his brutal knockout losses. I always just thought he was built up to be more than he was. And I think in some cases, it was more of his general attitude that he perhaps thought that he was more than he really was. You know, he
Never
always
ducked a
chased those
challenge,
big fights with Pacquiao and fucking Mayweather and looked for those big, huge paydays. And so I never really liked the guy kind of based on those things. But even someone like myself, and I've done the same with Donaire in the past, another guy that I'm not a big fan of, admit that these are skilled guys. You know what I mean? Like they're doing it at a level that's by far greater than anything that most people do in the sport. But tonight you could see, and like I mentioned in the first bit where I kind of threw my thoughts in, you could tell it wasn't anywhere near what it would have been at its peak time. And I think that, you know, what we saw from Con was just a reflection of all the time that he's been put out, all the time that he didn't do anything. And in general, you know, the toll of age that is taken on every fighter, really. You know, so it didn't really surprise me to see him look as vulnerable as he was. And, you know, I mean, like I said before, he's really just never had much of a boxing brain, I don't feel like, in comparison to a lot of other fighters. Obviously, he can maneuver his way around enough, but yeah, he really didn't look all that great tonight too, which, you know, while I would love to gloat more and probably vehemently and rub some people's noses in some shit, I mean, really the reality is that, you know, you could tell from the outset that Khan wasn't anything but a shell of what he's been in the past. And so, like you said, I mean, he was biting on feints. I mean, really, it looked like every time he got hit that his legs started doing the little quiver jelly thing.
He
you know,
got hurt by a jab.
I mean, seriously,
In the first
I
round,
saw that and I was like, wow, what?
It's a job, eh?
Couple of
Kell
bad
has dropped
paces, you
people.
pair.
Kell has dropped people with the jab before, though. To be fair, he's got a good hard jab.
Yeah, no, I agree with you absolutely, but I mean, you know, you think back about some of the premier fights that Amir was in. It wasn't a jab that did the work; it was a big punch, you know, from Danny Garcia up. If I recall, it was kind of in the ear-ish, neck-ish area. You know what I mean? Like it was never. You know, I mean, yeah, sure, he got hurt by some small punches, but he got really detonated on a few times too over his career. But tonight, I mean, you could see he just has nothing left. He definitely needs to stay gone and not try anything else again. I saw that I believe a few people had said that he, in the post fight presser, that he was retiring or said that he would or whatever. But I mean, I definitely think it's time for sure. To be fair, I didn't think he needed to take this fight, and his, you know, the things that he was doing in the ring and the way he behaved in the ring kind of demonstrated that his time has been over for a while now, you know. So, you know, but he made a lot of money. Fuck, I mean, he made a lot of money, had a lot of big nights, gave me a lot of enjoyment watching him get knocked out. So that's always, you know, I'll take it for what it's worth.
I wish he would have fought Timmy, man.
Well, here, Gabe there has laid out.
That was the golden age, man. There was a time at that 140 division, you know, that awful.
That was business really fucked that fight up, to be honest.
That Tim Bradley and Devin Alexander fight at 140. I mean, I remember a time, you know, way back in the day. Now we're aging ourselves a little bit, you know, but I remember that back in the day, it was something that everybody was fucking pumped about, you know. Everybody was like excited for that one.
Fight. It was such a shitty fight.
It was absolute garbage. You know, and then you had like all around the time you had Khan was there at 140, and Maidana was there at 140. I mean, there was like a ton of like, you could do a tournament with any combination of those guys, and you would, at the time, you were thinking this shit's going to be fucking great, no matter who fights who or when or where. And you know, I think too the climate was a lot different in boxing too, because at that time, you know, you knew there was some obstacles that had to be overcome to make some of those fights happen, but at the same time, it wasn't like it is now, where everybody was, kind of in that same mindset. Well, oh fuck, we know that's not going to happen. Like now, if we had that same climate, we would know, Khan's not going to fight Maidana. That's just not going to happen. Or whatever situation you have. I mean, that was a golden time at 140, but I think that was like the best time for Amir Khan, to be honest. I'm kind of like you, Matty. I think his best time was at 140, and I think that's, I think he was probably too big. I think he would have grown out of it at some point, but I think he could have definitely stayed longer. But he was chasing the money. He that's another thing about Khan that I always kind of didn't really care much for. He never seemed to be in it to get the best fights and to really test himself, and I always kind of admire that in a fighter. And, I feel like he was always just chasing the big money fights and trying to get the big payday. And he had the backing and the fortune of not being completely fucking mismanaged like Kell Brook was, so I don't know. I mean, I on one hand, it's fun. It was a fun thing to see, but on the other hand, it's just it's a shell of what it really could have been at the time when it could have happened. I mean, these guys could have taken so much money back in the day, so much money. And, they still did okay today, I suppose. But, long ago, this thing would have been such a rich fight for everyone involved, I'm
sort of hoping that the one thing Khan and Brook fans could both agree on was the sort of happy occurrence of Eddie not getting his pound of flesh from tonight's action. But I want to just agree with what Gabe's just said there. I mean, about Khan, this is why I preferred Brook, because, at the time when Khan was saying he was over in America chasing those big money fights, I mean, I thought it was cringeworthy. Do you remember the time Steve Pacquiao came over for a tour of the UK? It was before, I think, the Mayweather fight. No, maybe it was after. I don't know why it was before or after the Mayweather fight, but they did this thing on the old Sky ringside set, and Khan was following him around London the whole day like a flipping groupie. It was embarrassing, and even the way that he when he was, I remember as well.
To be honest with you.
Sorry, Andy.
I would do it myself, to be honest with you, if it was Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's Pacquiao, yeah. But I just thought it was too. To me, I thought, when you look at the fact that the fight never came off and the Mayweather fight never came off, I could sort of justify it if the fights actually happened, but you have to sort of ask the question: how realistic were those fights ever to happen? I just thought that the Brook fight would have been a lot. He would have been the A side. Brook, I think if Khan really had wanted the fight back then, Brook would have, or the people who were negotiating for Brook, they would have even accepted back then Khan was the A side, and it could have happened. But I don't think Floyd was ever going to give him that work. I think he was probably Khan, as I said, he was too impressive in those two fights against Devin Alexander and Louis Collazo. So we'll never know. But
why the fuck does it look like something that's going to be uploaded for police evidence in the bottom left of the screen?
Here, hang on. Before I bring him in, Chris Burns has thrown in a 179 super chat, so thanks to Chris Burns. Shout out to Joe Burns. Here he is on the call. Donnie, there's some hate going on here for your man Amir. Now, he wasn't at his best tonight. We all know that. He's always giving us exciting nights. Matty and Gabe are hating on him. Are you ashamed to be an American tonight, Donnie, with these two?
Yeah, if that's my company, then yes.
Hey.
Come on, Donnie, what did you make of it?
I mean, look, like like in Coming to America, when they're like, well, Rocky Marciano kicked Joe Lewis's ass, and the barber says, well, Joe Lewis was 106 years old. I mean, look, Amir clearly wasn't in his prime anymore.
Age, Donnie. They're the same goddamn age.
Yeah, but Khan checked out of the game years ago. He made all of his money. Brook needed it more than he did, and he needed it, and he got it, and that was that. It was a cash out fight for Khan. That wasn't the guy that we know in the ring. I mean, it was just, that was a shell of himself. So, I mean, look, good for Brook for doing that. He'll resurrect his career if that's what he wants to do, or he can ride off into the sunset. Either way, I have laryngitis, so I don't have too much to say. I just wanted to come on and listen to all your bullshit.
I mean, they're the
Oh, you've been
same
cutting
age.
Lincoln, mate. You've been cutting Lincoln.
You
He's got
little
his affairs in
asshole.
order, man. He sounds rough as fuck, doesn't he?
How
He's
many
been cutting
years?
Lincoln the asshole, baby. That's what he's been doing.
How
Well done for getting Bob Arm on the call, by the way, tonight. Thanks, Bob, for joining us.
He's done
Sounds like Bob Marley.
so how many years does jerking
Why
off
don't
on
you
Skype?
shut the fuck up?
How many years does jerking off on Skype take off of a man's career? Because for being the same age, in the ring, they looked a decade apart. It was ridiculous.
7 years, eh, Donnie?
I've done anal.
Come on, Donnie, throw it in while you can still speak. Anything else to add?
Hey.
It's a tight one, though.
Donnie,
Oh man.
Donnie, mask up. You're gonna spread the COVID, motherfucker.
I'm negative. I just tested myself, so it's just a regular old cold.
It's seriously like you look down there and it feels like you say, I'll tell you where the body can be found if you leave $10,000 on the corner of Simpson and Wales.
Here, Donnie, this will cheer you up. Pavel Senkovs has thrown in a 179 super chat. He said, considering Steve's stance on pay-per-view, was it worth it? What is my stance on pay-per-view, man? Pay-per-view's not dead. I never said that, Donnie.
Thank you, Mr. Hearn.
You're opposed to paying for anything, Steve. I think Donnie and I are the only people on the podcast who
Well-
pay for boxing content.
You fucking wonder, man. We're paying about 50%
Shush it, grass.
I'm not turning into the goddamn feds or anything
Fucking-
like Dan Raphael.
Yeah, Colorado Dan Raphael, that's what you are.
Oh, fuck off.
You put the weight again.
I support this sport financially. It's all because of viewers like me.
What did you watch it on tonight, Matty?
Yeah, like
Was it
PBS.
ESPN tonight?
Yeah, it was on ESPN Plus, which is a package I have to pay $7
Joe
additional
Tessitore,
dollars a
oh
month
my
for.
God.
And they also had the Linares.
That actually is a good app.
It's fantastic. That's where I found out about beach soccer. It's fucking epic. The goalies are usually the ones that score the most points on the field because it's short. It's fucking epic.
Points on the field in the soccer. Yeah, all right, man.
I think everyone can agree this lag is enhancing the podcast here. Andy, what about Ricky Hatton, man? He looked some state, didn't he? Look like he just, I don't know, when he just turned up at
Mate, he reminds me of the guy who walked into the pub at 11 o'clock in the morning, right, for a few pints, say, I'm going to watch a game. Oh, by the way, I'm going to turn up on television as well. He's going to have a fight, surely. It was an exhibition against, was it Barrera, I believe?
Aye.
My God, man, what a state he looks. But, no, well...
Did he? How long was he?
And his
into
team got
interview
beat in the last
tonight?
minute. His team equalised right in the 92nd minute, I believe, and then fucking Harry Kane scored the winner in the 95th minute, man. He must be raging.
What are you saying, Rob?
I was saying, fuck, what was I saying? I was going to say, oh yeah, how quickly into his interview with Sky? I didn't see it tonight. Did he mention his big nights in Vegas against Floyd and Manny Pacquiao?
I don't know. I had the sound turned off until the ring walk, and then I turned it on, and Bean goes, a cacophony of noise, and I just turned it back on mute again. That was all I heard. All night.
You might want to hear it, mate. He was like, because he had Penfold today, it was a fucking disgrace on commentary. We'll just put that out there right now. But I waited for fucking Bean to say it's beginning to heat up in here. Then Cowell would start stripping off during commentary.
You
But-
missed Steve. You missed fucking Kell Brook's walkout song that he came out to. All of the
lights.
Skypes, all of the Skypes. It was brilliant. It was unreal.
Michael Buffer turning up like a fucking washed out Christopher Lee. Fucking, I don't know how much money he got.
Doesn't
much money he
Donnie
got
kind of
paid.
look like Hatton?
Crawford looked like the most pissing off man in the world, that he had to sit and watch the fucking fella he was training get pasted, and he had to sit beside Chris Eubank Jr. as well. He looked like he didn't want to say shit to Eubank Jr., didn't he?
I will
Hey,
say though,
Steve.
I mean, there was a. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll go on,
No,
Donnie.
Go ahead, Donnie.
No, I was just gonna say that you guys are gonna laugh, but the biggest fights that can be made are fights that can be pay-per-view. I'm talking about economically, fights that can be pay-per-view in more than one country. And there was a time when Floyd Amir Khan made sense. Floyd didn't seek that fight out, even though it would have been huge pay-per-view on both sides of the pond. It raises questions. I mean, there was something in him that he didn't like. The guy that we saw tonight wasn't that guy.
He would have been. Floyd would have had him biting on so many fucking feints it would have been ridiculous. And he doesn't hit as hard as.
I agree. Floyd wins the fight. I don't know. I agree. Wins the fight. But the thing is that he didn't seek it out. And just that does strike me as strange.
No, I'll go this far. Floyd doesn't hit as hard as Brook, but he's arguably more accurate than Brook. I don't even know if it's arguable. He's more accurate than Brook, and he also is willing to walk forward when he knows that he has somebody's number in the right situations. Like, I think the beating that Floyd would have put on Amir would have been so fucking bad that we wouldn't have seen this fight tonight. His career would have been shorter than this.
Right, okay. So before we go on to the undercard, I'm sorry, we're going to have to do it at some point and close up for the evening. Let's see what everybody thinks about what's next for both fighters. Starting with you, Matty, Khan, Brook, where do they go next? Where would you like to see them go next, etc.?
Rematch, baby.
So Jesus Christ, no. I think so. I think if we really do consider a Brook a free agent, I think what we're looking at is probably that he is going to he's going to either get dragged down to 147, where he probably isn't going to comfortably make the weight. That's a hunch, to take on Conor Benn, or he's going to do something and have a more comfortable fight at 154 pounds. Somebody threw Tim Tszyu into the chat, and if Tim Tszyu looks good against Terrell Gaucher, I like that fight. I don't think it's good for Brook. But Tim Tszyu's a fighter on the way up.
Tim Tszyu's calling out Charlo because Castaño's pulled out of that rematch.
No
shit to fill in on short
they're
notice.
Putting pressure on the WBO, aren't they, to pull Castaño out? So,
oh my God!
Wait, Castaño pulled out of the Charlo rematch?
No, I don't think he pulled out. I think he's having surgery.
He's injured, I think. So, and Tszyu said he's happy to step in.
Oh, that's gangster as fuck.
I believe he's in America now these days.
I'm all about that, man. I would love to see that happen. That's an exceptional fill-in fight. And
the thing is for Tszyu, I mean, he's proven he's the best that era where he's from in that. But it's a big step up to go for what he's been fighting.
Crawford's saying he wants to win her with Castaño and fucking Charlo if he can't get.
Yeah, I've seen that as well, mate. He's talking about going to middleweight. I'll be fucking.
Yeah, watch that. I definitely watch that.
Anyway, Susan.
Well, if that's the case, I'm sure that Errol Spence.
Khan, Brook, Andy. Where they going next? Hattenbaum says Khan retire, Brook retire. So there's a bit of variation from Hatton there. Andy, what do you think?
I've been calling for Brook. For can't retire for years. You know that Brook. He's been in the ring. I think believe the same length of time as what Khan has, maybe even slightly less or whatever than that. But look, if Brook wants to go again, I believe the Eubank fight is possible. I didn't want to see him in with anybody in the top 10, even Thurman at this point. If you want to rank him top 10, I didn't even want to hear Conor Benn's name. I don't even want to hear Ortiz, Boots, Spence, any of that shit. Right? He needs to retire as well. He's a name at this point. The Eubank, I think Eubank was ringside in either night as well. It makes business sense. The trade on the name values again is said quite often. So maybe the Eubank fight is possibly another payout. You know what I'm saying? Another pension fight. So depends. I mean, he looked good tonight, in all intents and purposes, but it's not saying much. Come on, every time he hurt Khan, man, he fucking rocked him badly. So Eubank at 160 would probably be his swan song, I believe. Khan needs to go retire.
Is he fighting for glory or fighting for cash? I guess is what you
cash.
have to ask yourself. And if it's cash, probably Eubank.
It's cash. Eubank's the same, mate. Eubank's always been about risk reward, right? And if it's fucking least risk and it's got the high reward, that's him. And that Brook fight would probably make sense. Pay-per-view, they'll fucking mix the shit right out of that. I'm interested to see what numbers they do on this pay-per-view tonight, actually, because every fucker was talking about it. You've got all the celebs, ex-football players tweeting about it there right now and that. Ringside, fucking Mickey Richards, Jimmy Carragher, all these shithawks. So, yeah, I think it would do pretty good numbers.
Fucking Eubank, man. Some people reach for the stars, man. That guy reached for the light bulb.
Des saying there, Donnie Khan retires, Brook fights Eubank. The chat kicking off saying that it's casual talk and they should both just retire, but I like speculating, so what do you think, Don?
Well, I'm just curious, Andy, why do you think the Conor Ben fight is a bad fight? I think that's a big step up for him. I think it would be a good one.
Ben's not ready, man. I mean, come on. At this point, what's Ben been fighting? Even at this point, Brook. I mean, it would need to happen at 147. Brook is not going to pull. He would need to go at 154. If Brook's going to start pulling,
They could do it at 149 or 150, just like they did tonight. Big deal.
Oh, mate, no chance. Ben is the future or the face, shall we say, of Eddie's plan for pay-per-view in the zone. If it happens, they've had a major cash injection, wiping off debts. And
yeah, they're not going to take a chance with somebody like that who's outside the promotional stable. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No chance.
Well, unless there was a rematch clause, maybe, but
Rob, do you think
probably not.
Khan, obviously, I mean, I can't see him carrying on, especially not working with Eddie. Can you see Brook wanting to work with Eddie? Is Eddie going to be frozen out here?
Yeah, I think he will be. I think Adam Smith made some points in an interview during the build-up, because I was all in, to be honest with you. I thought, I criticised the Boxer show, the last one, but I thought they did a great job with that. But part of the reason for that is Adam Smith was kind of expanding on the reach that Sky have into other channels, so other stations within their network and stuff, and they pull out the full armory to promote a fight like this. And I think if Brook is going to fight again, the fight against Eubank on that platform with Boxer makes more sense than trying to sell it on an app that's failing, being honest. And that's not a shot at it. Like, honestly, like I said before, the notion of a boxing streaming service that's so cheap and that you don't pay for pay-per-views and everybody fights each other, it's great, but it's not sustainable and it's not working. So I couldn't see Brook going back to Eddie after delivering getting his fight with Khan finally delivered with Ben Shalom. I couldn't see what's in it for him with Eddie. Like,
I'm getting ready to watch Jaime Munguia fight
is
Ballard on DAZN tonight in just
Ben
a
is
few
on
hours.
DAZN, though, right? Ben is on DAZN, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think they offer a fine product on nights because I don't want to leave the house. What the fuck am I gonna do? I'm gonna sit here and watch boxing. Fucking A. It's cheaper than drinking at the bar.
Gabe, did you see anything of the undercard? What caught your fancy?
Remember when Rob Kelly said, I have to use my DVR or whatever because if you think I'm staying home to watch Frank Buglioni on a Saturday night, you got nothing.
Yeah, you're fucking mind.
It's in the intro now.
Poor Frank Buglioni. Jesus Christ.
In the intro frame.
Mr. Anti-Vaxxer.
Eggy Phil's joined the chat. I haven't seen Eggy Phil for a while, so hello to you. Yeah, Gabe, I was just asking you, anything from the undercard that caught your fancy? Fat heavyweights, women's fight, it had it all?
Oh, mate.
No, I just got home in time for ring walks.
And what about Brook next? Retirement, or what do you think, Gabe?
I mean, yeah, Khan definitely needs to retire. I think if anybody tried to talk him into fighting again, they should be fucking thrown in the ring with 2 or 3 fighters at the same time and made to fight them all off. I mean, really, if he's that delusional, then he's already further gone than we fucking thought. But if somebody actually tries to talk him into it, that person needs to get fucking battered. While, like most of us, I do enjoy, knockouts, and I have enjoyed watching Khan particularly get blasted out. I don't want to see the guy get fucking damaged forever. I mean, he's got a fucking family and shit like that, and at the end of the day, he is a real human being. So I'd prefer rather for him to just retire and not be permanently fucking damaged. I don't think that's a good look for anyone.
I've never heard anyone describe that with a boxer. I mean, he's a real human being. I don't know where the fuck that came from.
Well, because he acts like such a fucking clown, I mean, he's got this persona. I think a lot of people in sports have that, almost when people look at him, they look at him crossways like this godlike being because they're an athlete or whatever, But
I was thinking the other way around, more like Pinocchio. I'm a real boy.
He is. Well, I get that, but I think he's a bit of a. I always thought of Khan as a bit of a caricature. You know what I mean? Just like this outsized fucking personality that's You know what I mean? Just kind of a fucking, like I said, a clown. I don't know any other way to describe him, but I'd rather not see him again. I thought with how Kell looked today, I don't know. I mean, I could see him putting him in again. I don't know who to put him in with. I would love it. I mean, obviously I've already, mentioned that before, and you guys know that I'm a Kell Brook fan. So I would absolutely love to see him destroy Keith Thurman, because I think he could on a good night. But I think
my dick.
I think the good night is much harder to attain than actual reality of him actually doing it. You know what I mean? So in that regard, I'm going to go with what I would prefer, retirement on that one.
Oh dear. Dominic, quick one on the undercard, Natasha Jonas. It was nice that she's a nice girl. She's a good fighter. It's nice they found her an opponent that she could beat. But I mean, it's not drawing world titles out of a raffle, is it? Like,
no, it was. I have to be honest, Steve, I don't know much about the women's game. I'm a bit like old shoulder roll on the screen there. I'm congenitally just not predisposed to the women fighting, but I just she as I said earlier, that opponent was a bit of a look run. But Tasha Jonas.
Hang on, you had a technical stroke there. Say that again, sorry. It was the big Fraser Clark. Anyone know what age he is? About 32 or 33, is he?
He's 30, mate. He's 30, and he's fought far better than amateurs than what he fought tonight. That was an absolute disgrace.
Did you see what Bean blamed the opponent on COVID?
Fuck COVID, man. Fuck COVID. Fuck Bean, because that was absolutely.
We'll never forget.
I think Donnie was in better shape than that opponent.
Fucking hell. Donnie sounds in better shape than that fucker. He was outrageously bad. He was shite, man.
Do you hear what Bean said? Just, you were just talking about his commentary. You know how he usually has a big line, when the two fighters go back to their corners in the main event before the first bell rings, and it's something like light the touch paper or ready for liftoff. And he loves alliteration, so he came out with this one. He turned around to Macklin and he goes, "A pugilistic picture painted on canvas."
Fucking hell, that was nice of John Fury to pop up on the Sky broadcast, man. That's good.
I prefer listening to Russ imitating Bean than the actual real thing. There's something very funny about Russ imitating Bean.
You fucking said it.
The wee laugh he does after.
Right, let's move on.
Undercard was absolute dross, Steve. Dross.
For me, I think the highlight of that undercard, Steve, was the Bradley Ray knockout. That uppercut knockout was pretty clean.
It was a good finish. It's good to see people turning pro, turning over, and moving on. But it was too showcasey for me. But not for my taste. Anyway, let's move on ourselves and finish up for the evening. See what the boys thought overall. Overall, Matty, good night, bad night. What stuck out for you? Would you? In fact, I'll just leave it at that. But what stuck out for you?
For me, Steve, I think if you're talking value, I think I got a great thing with my ESPN deal to watch it. It was good entertainment. I've enjoyed my day of watching boxing thus far. It's incredible that it was a pay-per-view fight for you guys over there, but it just goes to show you that nostalgia sells, and as long as the people are buying these things and they're buying the old rivalry fights and things like that, they're gonna happen. So if you want to see fights like this, keep buying the pay-per-views. If you don't buy the pay-per-views.
Pay-per-view promotion for Matty there. Nothing for something. It's good to see people get knocked out. Quote from Steve Wellings. I love a good knockout myself. I love a good super chat as well. Stephen Anthony throws in a 449. I'm a patron, but rarely get to tune in live. Keep doing what you do. Joe, leave the impressions to Rob. Leave the impressions to Rob indeed. What was the overriding impression for you tonight then, Rob, of the evening in general?
Well, I was very happy for Natasha winning a world title, jumping up 5 or 6 weight classes, which is almost impossible in women's boxing. Fair play to her. No, I thought it was I thought it was entertaining. I don't know, like, if that says anything about boxers' position in the landscape. I think their roster is very thin. It's hard for them to prop up a good undercard. They're obviously working with prospects and kind of, the leftovers from Eddie's fucking and Frank's stables. So it's tough on him, and I don't mean that in disrespect. It's tough on him. Maybe it's all more based on the kind of thriller style Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson kind of appeal of the what could have been. I think it delivered in terms of an event. It looked, the promotion was brilliant. The show was a sellout. But just in terms of Amir, like, it wasn't there, was it? Like, it was. You never know what he has left until you see it. But we saw it early. Like, there was absolutely nothing. So I wouldn't read too much into Brook's performance and kind of start, putting him in with the likes of Thurman and all that. Like, I think, Amir should obviously retire, and hopefully Brook is not too far away. And both of them made a bit of money and got out safe. Like, so good on him.
It sounded like you're scratching records.
Pick up what?
Scratching records. Floyd bringing out NFTs. 1SG UK has thrown in a $5 on the super chat. Thank you very much. Andrew Thickett, Andy says highlights redemption for Brook and Jonas. Great crowd too. Yeah, the crowd seemed like they're having a great time. Sweet Caroline. All sorts was going on there, Andy. Sorry you weren't there for the evening.
Yeah, mate, I'm gutted I wasn't there to see two washed up fucking fighters on an absolute dog shit undercard, man. I mean, I was all over it like a fucking tapeworm in anal passage of a fucking emaciated wino, for fuck's sake. That was absolute dog shite, right?
Christ.
And anybody that paid for it, by the way, he's fucking deserve it, because I know all the money went towards the main event, and but that Fraser Clark opponent is absolute fucking late. It's just bad. Pure shite, dog shite. I mean, this is a guy who's fought like Victor Vikhorst and Kukubayev and Jalalov and amateurs, and he gets served up that shite for his fucking pro debut. Women's boxing. And, Natasha Jonas went up 3 weight divisions for that fucking fight, by the way, to win a world title. Right? Think about it. Like 3 weight divisions. It's like, fucking man, come on. And then she's like fucking prime Bobby Hearns. Jesus fucking Christ almighty. Come on, give me a break here. I agree with Matty saying, I forget the names at this point. What was that knockout you said, Matty?
Bradley Ray.
Bradley Stingray, that's who it was. The lift uppercut was beautiful. That was the best thing about that card. That was shite. Pure fucking pish, man. I'm glad I didn't fucking pay for it, and it was worth. It was worth having all the issues with my fucking streams and that. But eventually, I came through in the end, and I watched it, and thank fuck I did not pay for it. And I didn't pay for my Inferno Twig either, because I'm not fucking tight. Don't even pay for 2 washed up fighters. Trade off their fucking names. Fuck them. Go to retirement. Leave me alone.
Look at Bay Area Fight Fan. He says, "I'm glad folks are waking up to Eddie. Dude is a snake."
I know. Waking up like Dillian White in the garden, man. We've been telling him for the last 10 years.
Absolutely. Caning him week in, week out. I hope someone wakes up to him soon.
Tight joke, you're fucking right.
I think he says he's from the Bay Area, so he's obviously in the US. I've noticed a lot of traction in the US on Hearn hate lately. From some boxing heads over there. Like, they're starting to wake up to him, dude. You're right. You're onto something.
God. Fucking Gabe's in and out of here like a fucking Baptist in the coat room of a strip joint. Like, should I go? I don't want to go. I don't. Yeah, I'll go in.
Yeah, leave that one alone, Matthew. Leave that one alone. Gabe, what's going on?
The power of Christ compels me.
Gabe, Eddie's a snake, according to Bay Area Fight Fan. That's disgraceful commentary. What do you think?
He's fucking spot on, that boy.
I think Bay Area Fight Fan knows what the fuck is going on around here.
Yeah, they should go on his podcast, get on his panel.
I mean, I think, Steve, if anything, I think you might be the asshole for asking such a stupid question here.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Everyone knows that the guy's a fucking piece of shit. I mean, this is nothing new, and it's
come on, man.
I mean, it's a little bit sad at this point that people still fall for his bullshit. But I mean, anywhere you look on the internet, and you'll see there's always some dumb shit somewhere that has just been suckered in by the snake there. So I mean, if that guy, anything that comes out of his mouth, you just automatically should believe the opposite.
Told us for a year that fucking Joshua Fury was literally weeks away from getting signed. A fucking year, man.
Yeah, no, I mean that was one of the worst ones. Yeah, like you said, I mean it lasted forever, and he kept on saying it, and everybody kept on like, buying into it, and to the point where
Eddie, give me a life, please tell me about it, please. It's any day, mate, any day now, next week.
I'm wondering though.
I
wondered, did Ed? Did he get led up the garden path himself? The king of leading people up the garden path. Did his own con him, and because he was running around feeding all this information that they had $1 billion budget and the pay-per-view was dead, and then they were like, well, actually, no, man, we're fucking $4 billion in the hole here, and we have to start charging pay-per-view. You know what I mean?
Build his own fucking brand. That's what he's doing. The fucking I think we're fucking stupid.
Hey, to be fair, Andy, he gives us a lot of good. He gives us a lot of good promotion, though.
You really want to go around and start researching my interviews from 5 years ago, which I think was longer than that, from the Frankie Gavin fight, wasn't it? 4 or 5 years ago. Jesus Christ, get yourself a life. Firstly, oh my God, I found this clip from Hearn 6 years ago. Oh, the forums are going to love this one. Oh, you wait till I tell my mates on the boxing nutters messenger group. Oh, I'm going to be the king. Fuck's sake, get a life.
that guy is such a piece of shit.
I'm loving that shoulder roll, man. That's fucking prime Floyd.
Harlem shaking in the clip. You wouldn't catch Ben Shalom going on with that kind of nonsense, would you? Ben Shalom's a good stand-up guy.
Give it time.
Botox sex doll was fucking. He's raging tonight. I bet you when he's seen Khan and Brook walk out to a full arena with all the lights in the fucking background, people, all the casuals lapping in, he's fucking fuming that he's not getting his 20%. And I love the fucking thought about that. Evening, Ed.
Right, Gabe. What time is it there, Gabe?
What's that?
What time is it there?
6:40 p.m.
What are you doing with the rest of your evening?
Central time.
Yeah, I'm like Maddie. I've got the zone for Munguia. He looked like fucking shit at the weigh-in or after the weigh-in. And so I'm hoping to see him get blasted to bits this evening. But other than that, not a whole lot. Just hanging out, kicking back, watching some fights.
I thought you had a clan meeting tonight.
No, that's on the fourth Saturday of every month.
You still the Grand Wizard, though?
Of course, he's talking about the Wu-Tang Clan. Of course.
Right, Janis Joplin, overriding thoughts for this evening, Donnie. What did you take from it?
Well, I think the Amir Khan Kell Brook fight takes its place as a regional and lesser version of fights that we've seen before between rivals, except it happened way past the expiration date. Tyson Lewis, Floyd Manny, and Khan Brook. It happened because it had to happen, and the finances made sense for it to happen. But at the time it happened, it really didn't mean as much as it could have at one time. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get it when it was still meaningful.
That was fucking brilliant, Donnie, by the way. That was like the
Breaking
HBO fucking monologues at the end of Larry Munson. That was
happened.
Unreal, Donnie.
I can't believe it.
And you did it without wearing glasses to make you look like a 60-year-old lesbian.
Sound like a little bitch.
Right, Dominic, close us out. Overriding thoughts, BrookCon.
Yeah, anyone who colludes and can't even entertain the notion of fighting again should be ashamed, I think. And Brook, if he fights again, I'd like to see him beat Eubank just because I can't stand Eubank. But just Stuart Andy so delighted that Eddie's been shunted out, and I think he's being pushed into the margins. There seems to be a bit of a understanding other promoters get Eddie into the margins, so I can well get behind that, Steve.
Absolutely, well said. Thanks to everybody who's jumped on this evening. We've had Gabe, Donnie, Matty. They're all coming out for the big fight. Andy's here as well. Dominic's joined us, and so is Rapping Rob Kelly. Shout out to all the super chatters: David Coleman, Chris Burns, Pavel Senkovs, Stephen Anthony, and 1SG UK. Hopefully I've covered everybody. We'll catch you all for episode, I think we're on 462 tomorrow evening. Matty will be in the hot seat Looking forward to dissecting the fight. Ozzy will be with us as well, and looking ahead to Taylor Catchall and everything else that's going on. Munguia against Demetrius Ballard as well, which is happening in a few hours. I've been Steve Wellings. Catch you tomorrow night. Love you all, and bye.
Peace.
Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims.
I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Bump. You know what I'm saying?